World Combat Sports. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. It is a mixed martial arts affair. UFC 250 going down at the Apex Center in Las Vegas. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, as always. I'm just piggybacking off a stream. This is Sean O'Malley. 136 for Sean O'Malley.
Oh, we're getting an echo from the audio from the box.
I will fix it. Cody's statement coming up. He's taking this fight at featherweight. For anyone who's used to his bantamweight exploits, he'll be trying to make 145 here. So people don't be alarmed if he comes in around 145, please.
Oh, looks like Chris Cyborg has joined our stream. Good morning, Chris Cyborg.
145.5.
All right, 145 and a half. So a bunch of these bantamweights are coming in at featherweight because of the short notice, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Where did Sean O'Malley weigh in at?
136.
And for those of you who's tuned in, you know, these fighters, they're trying to make the card. UFC is putting together matchups that wouldn't usually take place. You know what I'm saying? Due to these fighters coming in over the weight limit. And could you imagine a fighter that's fighting 135 coming in at 145? You know, short notice fights.
136.
136 for Eddie Wineland.
Eddie Wineland, 136.
Then he adjusted the mustache on his mask. Twirled it as if he could.
Got one fight official already. Sean O'Malley and Eddie Wineland.
Eddie Wineland is facing Sean O'Malley. It's going to be a very tough fight for Eddie Wineland, to be honest. Sean O'Malley is on a tear. He's 11-0. Eddie Wineland is 24-13-1. Sean O'Malley is absolute rising star.
Correct.
135 and a half.
135 and a half. 135.5.
Nice. Cory Sandhagen.
Cory Sandhagen is a problem. Very loose, fluid type fighter. He gets in the rhythm quick. Prior kickboxer. He's held the WK championships, I believe, in kickboxing. It's going to be a good fight. Potentially, it may be better than the co-main event, you know, because he's facing Aljamain Sterling, aka Funkmaster, and that fight is going to be absolutely fireworks. Both of these guys have great movement, and they know how to involve their striking into that movement. And then, you know, they're not just one-dimensional, so to speak, or predictable fighters.
126, 126, 126.
All right.
So, the better.
126.
You guys want to fight and give the number?
Yeah, let's fight.
Good. That's two fights. That's two fights official now, I think, right? Sean O'Malley, Eddie Wineland, and GC Formiga, Alex Perez.
Juicy Formiga, Alex Perez. That's going to be a nice lighter weight class fight. That's on the card. The card ain't bad. For the MMA fans that's tuned in, the card isn't bad just because you have Amanda Nunes and Felicia Spencer headlining.
Well, I can't see it underneath the mask, but I'm generally a fan of yours.
It's okay.
Looks like Cody Garbrandt.
136. 136.
Cody, no love.
As they said, Garbrandt, the former champ, 3-fight losing streak, three straight knockouts. So huge fight for him on Saturday with Raphael Assuncao.
He'll be fighting Raphael Assuncao. That's actually down here. I posted some pics when I dropped through AT&T.
He's keeping the Anthony in there.
He's grew his hair out. Has great boxing.
So that might not be his preference, though. We don't know.
You remember he was able to go in there and defeat Dominique Cruz. One side of the fair.
170 and a half. Just has a tiny bit cut off in that split view. Shouldn't.
It's all over.
Well, I was going to say, when Mike Heck interviewed him, he asked to be Pitolo a third to say with Rocco Martin.
Aljamain, Funkmaster, Sterling. This is gonna be a big fight. This is a big fight for Sterling, coming off the Pedro Munoz fight. He looked absolutely phenomenal in that fight. One of his best performances in his career, period. But also you have to take in consideration he lost a Assuncao back in the day, Brian Caraway, and also most recently Marlon Moraes. But he has rebounded. 136 for Aljamain Sterling. It's gonna be a good fight. Him and Cory Sandhagen will face off in the cage tomorrow night. And just take for note that the cage is much smaller than the regular cages.
Former Invicta SC Featherweight champion.
So it will force the fighters to have less distance to move around, maybe force, the inside game, the clinch, takedowns, so forth. Dimensions are much different.
Now, is that a statement she's trying to make? What do you think of that?
All right, next up here in the featherweight division, Ryan.
There's two former hosts of the A-side fighting on this card. Brian Kelleher also 140, looking to make 145.
Brian Kelleher just coming off a more recent card. He's back on this one.
146.
146. 146 for Brian. Crystal Crew Kelleher. Fighting for the second straight time at 145 pounds and in less than a month. Second time in less than a month. So Kelleher's been working those.
The first fight of the card against Byrd brother.
I would like to say this is 150 pound catch weight fight. So that's 150 is not missing weight.
149 and a half.
149 isn't a weight class, the next weight class up is lightweight 155. So a lot of these fighters are getting last minute call ups, it's a paycheck to fill the card, you know what I'm saying? Fillers as much as they are in shape. So Dana White is going to bring them on and kind of stack this card up. So that's why you see a lot of catch weights, man. They're above featherweight, but they below lightweight. Featherweight is 145. This guy just weighed in 149.
Maki Pitolo.
185 is middleweight.
That is an excellent wolf tattoo on his abs. Maki has competed at both 170 and he's actually going back up to 185 for this fight. So I don't know if that's a permanent move or
Don't read too much into these fighters missing weight, being below. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's agreed upon by the organization to make the card. This is what it takes to get, you know, now that they back in Las Vegas, they can kind of settle in and start stacking the cards. You know, try to build up the lineup. And not every fighter had the opportunity to have an open gym, you know. So they're working with them in the middle, I guess.
Several fights we have set up now, right? All right.
Hey, hit the like button for those of you mixed martial arts fan and combat sports astutes, period. You know, it's all about mixed martial arts this weekend. The card is going down tomorrow, June 6th, in Las Vegas at the Apex Center.
185 and a half.
That is the center for the UFC.
Are you even a fighter if you don't have a lot of tattoo? Or that you nickname it, or have your name on you in some or name writing somewhere.
If you're tuning in, you hear thunder in the background. I can't do anything about that. That's Mother Nature. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy weather. 1 minute is sunny, it's blazing hot, you know, for the protest yesterday. And then today is raining. You know, God was good. You know what I'm saying? Gave us a day to protest. No rain whatsoever, dry. And today is soak. It's wet. All of that. Thunder.
22 minutes. I believe it was a Cardinals still.
Appreciate everybody getting back into combat sports. You know, if you tuned in to World Combat Sports, you know, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, whatever, subscribe to the channel, share the content. I appreciate it.
For all our media friends, so I want to enjoy that. Feel free to every once in a while visit ESPN. They also have, one world championships and other things. Is that like a bi-weekly newsletter or something like that? Yeah, you gotta help out. You gotta help out the little guy.
If you look in the description, I have the main card and the prelims.
Yes, that is courtesy of our friend. We miss so much.
The main event is going to be.
One of my favorite stories.
Hold on for a second. The main event is going to be the women's featherweight championship. Amanda Nunes 19-4 against Felicia Spencer 8-1. One thing to note about her credentials is she is currently the bantamweight champion and the featherweight champion. Co-main event is Raphael Assuncao 27-7 versus Cody Garbrandt 11-3. Raphael Assuncao is looking to get on a steady win streak. Very tough opponent. You know, he's fought some of the best. Cody Garbrandt, the same, former champion. Get back to the stream right quick. $205. $205 means he's a light heavyweight. He meets the limit, light heavyweight.
Looks like we're gonna have someone else on there. By the way, anyone in the comments, shout it out if you guys remember Kelleher. Anyone remembers Kelleher and the watermelon smashing? That's a lie. Remember Gallagher's brother? Yeah, he sued him.
It's one of my favorite fighters. You know, he used to fight in the streets too. You know, those backyard fights.
This one, he walked out to the cowboy bebop theme song in Utopia. Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Alex Caceres.
146.
146.
146. Featherweight. Always one of the favorites. He's been susceptible to submissions in his losses, but he's a very tough fighter, man. Very entertaining.
On the right hand side.
Now, Caceres and Hooper, they're normally 35, right? They're one of those short. No.
No. Nope.
Caceres is management, I think.
Caceres is normally in featherweight. Hooper is bantamweight.
Wait, Caceres has fought a bantamweight. He lost their favorite bantamweight. Yeah, many times actually.
All right, Casey Byrd.
$145 and a half.
145 and a half. 145.5. This will be young Chase, 20 years old, youngest fighter in the card, Chase Hooper, his second UFC appearance. This will be Alex Caceres', I believe, 22nd UFC appearance. So,
Chase Hooper is 9-0. He is a decent fighter. To be as tall and lanky as he is, and you know, for those of you that understand, that's the fight composition of the modern day striker. You know, it's not all about having a big physique, being bulked up, and everything else. Fighters like Chase Hooper, man, his last fight he looked impressive. You know, he has talent, just like Sugar Sean O'Malley. Tall, slender guys, not as big, but they're very talented. The same can be said about Cory Sandhagen. You know, very slim type fighter, but diversity in their strikes, combining their punches and kicks, and just being, multifaceted when they're pushing forward. It makes for an exciting fight, man, and it gets them the wins that they need. But look out for Chase Hooper, man. Alex Caceres, if he shut down this guy, this Chase Hooper's 9-0-1. Caceres is 15-12-0, So it's gonna be a good fight, man. Caceres is tough.
You're breaking up, Alex, so I'm just going to take over right here.
This false positive is very weird.
Like I was saying, Raphael Assuncao.
I might ask you to turn Alex's mic down while he's breaking up. But I wanted to say, yeah.
Raphael Assuncao, 27-7 versus Cody Garbrandt, 11-3. Cody Garbrandt had those two fights with TJ Dillashaw and then Pedro Munoz. And he just had the wrong fight plan. He was just going in there, as you call it, caution to the wind, kill or be killed. And his chin was chest tested, and he was knocked out. It's just the wrong game plan. It just seemed like, I'm not sure what he was training, how he was training up to that fight to go in there with a game plan as if he was a knockout artist. But in the process of swinging, he had to be much more smarter in using his defense and lateral movement, which he didn't. So TJ Dillashaw shut him down twice. Pedro Munoz. Okay, let me get to this. I think this is the champ, Amanda Nunes. Champ. Yep. The Lioness.
145.
Always the true professional, Amanda Nunes. As you probably noticed, she turned down the main event is official. You know, Felicia Spencer is her opponent, 8-1, and Amanda Nunes is 19-4. So right now, Amanda Nunes is like the GOAT right now of the UFC.
And we're only waiting on 4 more fighters now.
But I don't
Raphael, Assuncao, Magny, Devin Clark, and Herbert Burns.
I don't see her just yet as the go to mixed martial arts because Chris Cyborg, even though she beat her, she's held belts in every organization that she's competed in. That's fact. But back to Cody Garbrandt, he looks to get on a steady winning streak. You know, get back in here and fight smart, especially against Raphael Assuncao. I actually had the opportunity to see Assuncao train down here in Atlanta and at AT&T American Top Team. Shout out to June Cow, his professor, and everybody else that was down there that day. You know, Douglas Lima, shout out to him. Ill Will Brooks, everybody else that was on deck. They will be the co-main event. Aljamain, Funkmaster Sterling against Cory Sandhagen. Aljamain Sterling's 18-3. His only 3 losses is to Brian Caraway, Raphael Assuncao back in what was it? Was it 2017, I think. And then his loss to Marlon Moraes, as you probably seen, you know, Marlon Moraes knocked out Aljamain Sterling and Jimmie Rivera the same way. You know, that switch kick. But, you know, me and Aljamain Sterling was attempting to change levels, so to speak. And at the right time, Moraes hit him with that left knee. His switch is just amazing to watch. He caught Aljamain Sterling when he was kind of being lackadaisical, showboating a little bit, and knocked him out cold. And then with Jimmie Rivera, you know, the same thing, a high kick. But Aljamain Sterling facing Cory Sandhagen, who's 12-1. Sandhagen is one of those, as we call it, unpredictable, wild type of fighters. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if Aljamain Sterling can have the same movement he did against Pedro Munoz. You know what I'm saying? Will he be able to have pretty decent cardio and be able to, you know, have an answer for Cory Sandhagen striking? Because Cory Sandhagen can come forward and pressure you and land those type of kicks without really setting them up. You know how some people stand flat-footed and they shoot the kick. You know, some, you know, set it up with punches, shoot the kick. But Cory Sandhagen's just unpredictable in a lot of ways. Like, you really can't sit there and tune in to what he's about to do when he's pushing forward. And I'm curious to see if Aljamain will be able to have a defensive answer for the pressure that I know that's going to be placed on him by Cory Sandhagen. But on the other hand, Aljamain Sterling is going to have to use that same pace that he had against Pedro Munoz to come up here and earn the respect of Cory Sandhagen, period. He's going to have to. He's going to have to use that same cardio. He's going to have to use proper distance so he won't get caught. Here's Raphael Assuncao.
Yes, Connor G. Curry is Gilbert's brother.
One
136, 136.
Nice.
205.5. That's light heavyweight limit. That was, as I was saying about Aljamain Sterling. At this point, him and Cory Sandhagen is vying for a title shot.
2 fighters left away and only Neil Magny and Herbert Burns left.
Neil Magny and Herbert Burns are the only ones left. And Neil Magny is a welterweight.
We had everyone weighing in like 15 minutes, and then we waited for the last 70 minutes for Kinky Water right at the end.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean...
But what's going to be important for Aljamain Sterling is this will absolutely probably have him on the doorstep of a title shot. Right now, they're pushing Jose Aldo and Peter Yan for some reason, even though Aljamain Sterling has, stepped in there with the likes of Marlon Moraes and been on somewhat of a winning streak, and also Pedro Munoz. Cory Sandhagen, of course, he's came out of nowhere right now. Cory Sandhagen, it wasn't too many people talking about him until his recent wins. So he's been doing what he's supposed to do to get his notoriety, man, to get his name out there in the mixed martial arts conversation. It's one of the rising stars. But Aljamain Sterling has been out here longer. He's been doing it. He did have his hiccups, when he lost to Moraes, but he's recovered from that. And I think when it comes down to it, I don't know, man. I'm surprised that the lineup is the way it is. I'm not sure why that is. Dana White and whoever the matchmakers do what they're supposed to do. Well, I'm really not sure why that's the way it is, to be honest. You have Cody Garbrandt and Raphael Assuncao. Now, many can say Cody Garbrandt because he was a former champion who beat Dominic Cruz, but also you have to basically equate the fact that he was knocked out 3 times in a row. Aljamain has been stopped 1 time. He did have losses to Brian Caraway and Raphael Assuncao early, but there wasn't stoppages. His first time he was stopped was when he stepped in there with Marlon Moraes. So that's kind of puzzling a little bit, you know what I'm saying? It's like I said, thunder and lightning, baby. But yeah, that's kind of crazy that, my fault, the weather's bad over here, but it's only, I believe, 1 more fighter left for the weigh-ins, and then I can actually get into the card itself. But yeah, Aljamain Sterling and Cory Sandhagen, in my opinion, due to the fact that Cody Garbrandt had been in there, 3 previous times and went out in the worst way possible. Not just the fact that his strategy failed him with going all out and just throwing punches in the pocket and didn't have any defense to get out or exit, reset, land his punches, land his combinations, and then create distance. He'd rather just stay in the firefight, hunker down, and try to use his hands to a fighter It wasn't going to stand directly in front of him the same way. TJ Dillashaw, he does move his head off center when he's throwing his punches, and sometimes he'll follow up his left hand with a kick. You know what I'm saying? As in Cody Garbrandt, he isn't known for kicking that much. You know, he'll just sit in there and throw punches, and he get hit with something, he'll just try to respond, and you just can't do that if you have a suspect chin or a soft chin. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people saying Aljamain Sterling, Cory Sandhagen should have indeed been the co-main.
Indeed, relishing his belt. And Cory's not dropping back on light heavyweight anytime either. Rumble Johnson's obviously heavyweight, so he could very well fight for the title after like one, maybe less than a win.
Yeah, but
just get touched
Dickinson
out right
seems
away.
like he just might feel like he still wants to just beat John Jones.
It's a good point.
Might be
That's a very
shifting
good point.
to heavyweight.
I'm just trying to see what
That's a
they're
very
talking
good
about.
point.
Or maybe just like he sees.
All right, I'm gonna cut them off for a minute. But shout out to MMA Hour, man. I mean MMA fighting. Shout out to MMA Hour. All these sites that cover mixed martial arts on a regular basis. MMA fighting, MMA Hour. Salute to you. So that's the three from the top. Amanda Nunes, it's the main event, 19-4. Felicia Spencer, 8-1. The fight is going to be good. Amanda Nunes is the bantamweight and the featherweight champion. She's one of the only ones remaining that really haven't vacated one of her titles. It's going to come around to that point that she's going to have to do that, period. She's going to have to vacate one of the titles just to, you know, give somebody else the opportunity to become champion, especially in the featherweight division. I think Amanda Nunes will probably want to contend in the 135-pound division because there's much more competition than fighting in the featherweight, period. Raphael Assuncao, Cody Garbrandt, goes without saying, man. I wouldn't think the winner of this fight would be next in line for a title shot over the winner of Aljamain Sterling, Cory Sandhagen. I'm just saying. I just think these two, their names is much more of a popularity. If the fans are gonna advocate or sit up here and voice who should be next in line, or you know, get on social media, they probably say the winner of Sterling Sandhagen. It just goes without saying. Neil Magny, 22-8. Anthony Martin, 17-5. I'm looking at that to be a pretty decent fight. Neil Magny, at one point in time, was one of those guys who was on the come up. He was on the rise as being the next big deal. And the game may have caught up with him just a little bit. He faced some tough competition. He's a tall, lanky, rangy fighter, somewhat like the fighters I mentioned earlier, Cory Sandhagen, you know, and Sean O'Malley. You know, he's one of those tall, lanky fighters, but he's tough. He's you know, his striking game, you can say it's versatile. You know, he does include his kicks along with his punches. And if you want to take you down, his jiu-jitsu game is pretty decent. You know what I'm saying? His jiu-jitsu game is pretty decent. A lot of fighters, it's amazing that they still go in here and just, you know, throw strikes, throw punch combinations, and they really don't include or insert their kicks into their striking strategy when they're in there, which pretty much limits their opponents to know that there's a threat coming with the legs, a takedown, or whatever the case. It's amazing that you still have fighters in there that fight like that, especially seeing how the mixed martial arts game has evolved so much over the years. Like, you want to present your opponent with an accumulative threats, as it the kicks, punches, takedowns, clinch, you know, low calf kick, thigh kick, head kick, you know, any type of suggestion that you're willing to subscribe to for your opponent to understand that, you know, you are a mixed martial artist and you are well-rounded. Seriously. I mean, that's the whole deal, isn't it? Eddie Wineland 24-13-1. It's the first fight on the main card, going against Sean Sugar O'Malley, 11-0, which coming out of the Contender Series, man, he's improved a lot. He had a foot injury, a couple of grappling bouts, before he's made it back to the square. To the cage. And Sean O'Malley, man, I'm gonna tell you, very, very entertaining fighter. One of the guys who I say that has his own style, his own bravado. He gives you that swag, man. I know we don't mention swag too much anymore, but Sean O'Malley has his own swag, man. His own style and approach to the fight game. And he's a tough dude. And his jiu-jitsu is on point. But yet he's proven that his stand-up game is a threat too. Okay, let's. 149.5.
All right. So that catchweight bout is settled. And to Ned Rem, I've never heard of these jungles on Long Island. They're not bungalows.
So several catchweight bouts are going down. You look at the weights, or if you're looking at the weights over there to the right side. And once again, shout out to MMA Fighting. You have Herbert Burns coming 149.5. Evan Dunham, 149.5. Okay. I just shut down my screen share so I can get down to it. But if you look down in my description, those of you that's tuned in, if you have any comments, please drop them in the live chat. I was looking at multiple things at once. But the prelims, Alex Caceres, 15-12, man, like I said, he started off in the backyard fighting, man. He was back there, old school, doing the roped off backyard fighting. And he came on the scene and people, had big high hopes for Alex Caceres, man. And he was a big deal. Let me pull up his record right quick and kind of show you where he started to, take a couple of L's here and there in a way that people didn't think he would. And that was via submission, because he was pretty solid. All around. His boxing, we knew his boxing was good because that's what he mostly worked on. And he had some pretty solid kicks. He kind of emulate his whole persona off Bruce Lee, which, we can understand that. But he's one of the only fighters to actually convince people that he was Bruce Leroy, real talk. So when he was coming up on the scene, I'm gonna start off the Ultimate Fighter when he came in, and had wins against Paul Barrow and Jeff Lentz. But he fought Michael Johnson in the Ultimate Fighter season 12, lost. And as he continued, he fought Summerzier, Mackin's Summerzier. He lost via rear naked choke, which is sub, right? And then he got subbed out again in the same year by Jimmie Rivera in August 2011. And then he beat Cole Escovedo via unanimous decision and lost to Edwin Figueroa. So you can tell, you can see the sporadic in his career, the ups and downs of what he was going through. So the Meerschaert Page was a tough fight at one time. He was highly touted too, but he started losing. Very tough fighter, Mexican. Subbed him out in round 2. But moving on to a bigger name that he defeated, which was good on his resume, was Sergio Pettis. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know, but he defeated Sergio Pettis back in 2014 via RNC. That kind of had people thinking like, damn, this dude's the truth. Then his next fight from January to July, he loses to Uriah Faber via RNC in round 3. And then he goes on again in 2014 in September and loses to Kanahara, Masanori Kanahara, via unanimous decision. Then he steps in there against Francisco Rivera Jr. and loses via punches in round 1. And that was in 2015. He fought once in 2015. Took some time off, came back in February 2016 and defeated Maceo Fullen, then Cole Miller. And he had an active 2016. His third fight in 2016, he lost to Yair Rodriguez, the same Rodriguez who just defeated Kevin Lee in the blackout card over there in Brazil. He went in there against Jason Knight. The same Jason Knight that fought Artem Lobov at bare knuckle fighting. I'm telling you, call him Mr. Chaos. He just don't care how he get the job done. He's going to stand in there and make sure he gets your attention and demands your respect. And in 2017, man, he defeated Alex Caceres, Jason Knight. So when Alex came back, he had 1 win, then lost again, 1 win, and lost again to Kron Gracie via rear naked choke. And that was a very tough fight for him. I'm telling you, a lot of people was like hoping that he would be able to go in there and defeat Kron Gracie. He had more experience, but we know when a Gracie come in there, what's going to happen. You have to be prepared for the takedowns, and you have to be prepared to defend by all means necessary from them taking your back or having any type of dominant position while on the ground. And Kron Gracie was able to sub him out in round 1. And people was like, damn, we can't really blame Caceres for being subbed out, but yet and still you can, because the game has evolved so much where you can get jiu-jitsu, high-level jiu-jitsu practitioners like Kron Gracie to come in here, and it's ways to, combat or defend that, take down the fence and everything else. Like his last fight was July 2018, right? Before he stepped in there with Kron Gracie in February 2019. Now, I'm not saying he didn't work on his jiu-jitsu, but I'm saying take down the fence and how he went up there and handled the fight. Caceres may have thought that he can stand in there and clinch and have no problem in the space of Kron Gracie. You know what I'm saying? It's not like Kron Gracie was this huge knockout puncher or anything, even though he was undefeated at the time. It wasn't like he was just this huge freaking knockout punch. It wasn't the case. It's just Caceres kind of thought that he potentially could go with him on the ground, man. He wouldn't have any problem with it, because it's not like Caceres doesn't have jiu-jitsu to his repertoire, but we're talking about the Gracie family. You know what I'm saying? Some people can knows as some people are high level to go in there and not have too much of an anxiety in facing the Gracies. But a lot of them do. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them say, you know what, I can go ahead and roll with a Gracie in the cage in a fight. I can get it done. But then again, you make one mistake and allow them to gain dominant position, whether it's top positioner off their back, it could be an early night. And then after Chrome Gracie, he won against Steven Peterson in July 2019. So it's been close to a year. You know what I'm saying? Since we've seen Alex Caceres back in the cage. Close to a year, people. And, you know, right now, man, I'm looking at, let me see. He's 31 years old. He still has a good 5 or 6 years left in the sport to compete. You know? But we'll see how that goes down, period. But of course, the main card is what everybody's going to be looking at. You know, most of everyone that's on the main card is mostly packed with the co-main event and the third fight. You know, those are two main fights outside of the main event. Everybody's going to be tuned into. They're going to be tuned into the bantamweight roster that's on this card with Raphael, Sandhagen, Cody Garbrandt, Aljamain Sterling, Cody Sandhagen. Absolutely. Neil Magny against Anthony Martin and Eddie Wineland against Sean O'Malley to close out the roster of the main card. People are going to be looking at that. If you have familiarity with these fighters, they're going to just be going for their favorite fighters. Neither one of the four is in line for a title shot or anything like that. That's outside of the bantamweight co-main event and the third card. The winners of those four could potentially be in line for a title shot in the bantamweight division of Jose Aldo and Peter Yan. Now, not to basically distract outside of Amanda Nunes and Felicia Spencer, okay? I believe this fight is going to be better than what people think. Felicia Spencer is a very tough fighter. She's slower than Amanda Nunes. I know for a fact Amanda Nunes is more well-rounded than Felicia Spencer, but it's a 5-round affair, and it's going to come down to, you know, if Amanda Nunes uses her speed, and if she's not able to hurt Felicia Spencer, what part of the fight, what dynamic of the striking repertoire is going to come into effect where one of these fighters are able to gain the advantage? You know, will we see Felicia Spencer able to get a takedown? We don't know. Am I worried about that with Amanda Nunes jiu-jitsu? Nah, not so much. This could be a very bloody fight. Felicia Spencer is one of those fighters who can stand in the pocket and take punishment. She's not a slouch. She's not a freaking a easy touch, as they call it, for Amanda Nunes. But on top of that, that doesn't mean that you're looking at 19-4 Amanda Nunes, that she possibly won't go in here and stop Felicia Spencer, whether it's via submission or knockout. Now, the bantamweight extravaganza. This is crazy. This is amazing because it's a lot that I don't understand about how they're trying to link up this bantamweight division. Let me pull up something right quick so I can. Okay, Peter No Mercy Yan, him and Jose Aldo is rumored to fight for the vacant bantamweight title. Now you're saying vacant? It's like, how the hell is this shit gonna be vacant? Henry Cejudo was just a champion. Yeah, he vacated it. So Henry Cejudo, the champ, the former flyweight 125 pounder and the bantamweight 135 pound champ, he vacated the flyweight title first, and then he vacated the bantamweight title after defeating Dominique Cruz. And also salute to him, he's an Olympic gold standard champion. Now, Peter Yan, he's been making a name like inside the tree line. Like, we've seen him fight, man, but people are like asking, like, who is this guy? He's 27 years old. He does have, you know, a little bit of youth on his side when it comes to mixed martial arts, because we know good and damn well we've seen plenty of people on here with double-digit losses. For Peter Yan, he's 14-1, and let's look at some names that have gotten him his attention. John Dodson. Okay, John Dodson, man, hasn't really been on a win streak as of yet. And we're talking about the John Dodson who made a name for himself when he came in here on his debut and defeated TJ Dillashaw. He shocked the motherfucking world, dog. He shocked the world just like freaking Rashad Evans did the Brad Himes. He shocked the world because the number one pick to come over here in the debut in that division to win the finale was indeed TJ Dillashaw, and John Dodson shut him down. But to caveat, he has a win. Peter Yan has a win over John Dodson. That doesn't mean too much right now because John Dodson, he's been known to have some very boring fights, man. Just don't do enough to win. And then Jimmie Rivera. Jimmie Rivera at one point in time, he might have been on a 12-fight win streak, I believe. And they was waiting for him to step up and fight. You know? And Jimmie Rivera defeated him. I mean, he defeated Jimmie Rivera after Marlon Moraes, I believe. Because Jimmie Rivera had a lot going for him. He faced Marlon Moraes, and that's when he did that, you know, Marlon Moraes did that beautiful switch kick and caught him up top, right just over his guard, left side high kick, and he closed him out in the first round. You know what I'm saying? And then he had a win against John Dodson. And then he lost against Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan. Now, the one thing I want you to see in here is Jimmie Rivera, who's a common opponent for Peter Yan, is who? I mean, one common opponent for Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling is who? Jimmie Rivera. Okay, Jimmie Rivera lost via decision to both of these guys who are basically top contenders for the bantamweight title. Now, Aljamain Sterling fought Jimmie Rivera before Peter Yan. But for some reason, the UFC took it upon themselves to say Peter Yan and Jose Aldo is fighting for the vacant bantamweight title. It just doesn't make any sense to me that this would be the fight that you're going to make in Jose Aldo, who just moved down to bantamweight, dog. I understand Jose Aldo is a legend. I get it, man. But goddamn, a lot of these cats are moving down here and jumping the line on dudes who absolutely deserve to be to maintain their position at the front of the line. Real talk. Jose Aldo was coming off a loss against Volkanovski. You know, in May of 2019. And then he lost to Marlon Moraes. And y'all know what that fight was at. Y'all know what weight that fight was at, right? It just doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense to me. I guess because the conspiracy theory that a lot of people thought Aldo won that fight, but they gave it to Marlon Moraes, right? But the fact is that he lost. So for Jose Aldo to get a title shot prior to Aljamain Sterling, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm not the one making the bouts, but I would think it would be a better contest if it was Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan, because the mix-up was just crazy. Like Marlon Moraes, you know, he did what he had to do. against Aljamain Sterling. He did what he had to do against Jimmie Rivera. He got his shot and he was stopped against Henry Cejudo. Okay, he did what he had to do. He should go at the back of the line. Then you take Henry Cejudo and what he was able to do against Dominique Cruz, who was coming off a long hiatus and stepped in there against Henry Cejudo and got shut down in the second round. Exclude Dominique Cruz, who's next in line. Well, before all this disaster happened, you have to look at the one that's been on the road pretty much and who has stepped in there against the last common opponent that was stopped by Henry Cejudo, and that was Marlon Moraes. Yeah, Aljamain Sterling was stopped, but yet and still, he's been on a roll as of late, and he should have been up in there. You know what I'm saying? Since his last defeat of Marlon Moraes, Aljamain Sterling should have absolutely, in my opinion, got the title shot with whoever, Peter Yan or Jose Aldo at bantamweight. Now, if you're saying to yourself, shit, Cody Garbrandt was a prior champion, right? Okay. But wouldn't you think a fighter who's been knocked out 3 times in big fights, he should just wait? No, it's not working like that because the UFC believes in popularity. That's why you see Donald Cowboy Cerrone in a lot of fights. You see Conor McGregor, who keeps coming up here, you know, being able to manipulate his freaking maneuvering through the UFC and get what he wants after being subbed out. Conor McGregor should be at the back too. But Aljamain Sterling, in my opinion, should have been the one in there facing Peter Yan. The reason why I say Peter Yan is he is a true 135er. Jose Aldo is just dropping down because he's searching to try to see if he can get another title. He hasn't quite recovered. You know what I'm saying? Jose Aldo hasn't quite recovered. He lost twice to Max Holloway. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make any sense. 13 seconds to Conor McGregor. He lost twice to Max Holloway in the same year. And then he defeats Jeremy Stevens with a body shot. And he's very, very emotional, y'all. This dude is very emotional. You know, I was cheering for Jose. I was like, yeah, you back in the groove, man. And then Moicano, he went in there and finished him in round 2. He fought once in 2018. He finished Renato Moicano in February 2019, and then stepped in there against Alexander Volkanovski and lost. Unanimous decision. And then he stepped in there again at the end of 2019 before all this bullshit happened, and he lost to Marlon Moraes. Now, rumor is that he may potentially be fighting for the bantamweight champion, which I don't think is fair. I don't think it's fair because Alexander Volkanovski is the current featherweight champion. Jose Aldo first bout at 135 was dropping down against Marlon Moraes. Oh, it's crazy, man. That's the biggest deal of this fight card, y'all. The bantamweight situation. That's the biggest deal, period. I like how it's stacked on the main event. I do, because from the main event to all the way down to the third card from the main event, the third fight from the main event is going to be exciting, period. And it means something. The bantamweight division, the fights that's on this card means a lot to the shakeup to the 135-pound division, because you have contenders. You have the Raphael Assuncao, very experienced, 27-7. You have the Cody Garbrandts. You have the Aljamain Sterling, Cody Sandhagen. I'm gonna tell you, don't be surprised. It's a 3-round fight. I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. I can't say somebody's getting knocked out. I can't say that. Somebody, one of those getting stopped, potentially. In both fights, Raphael Assuncao and Cody Garbrandt, potentially somebody might get stopped, whether it's via knockout or sub. And I feel the same way against Aljamain Sterling and Cory Sandhagen. But not so much as I do with the co-main event, because, you know, Garbrandt has been knocked out 3 times. maybe he's smarting up. You know, he had a kid since then, and he's smarting up a little bit, and he'll have a different, more structured game plan, not just to go in there and say, you know, if I get chinned, I get chinned, but I'm gonna go in there and give it all I got in a freaking 2-minute firefight to plant my freaking guide arm and prove that I'm the conqueror. You can't do that shit. You can't go in there and just swing wildly because you have a boxing background and hope to hurt your opponent. You got to set that shit up. You got to stay fundamentally sound sometime. You know, take your time, be patient, get the data that you're looking for, and then start to push the pace. Not everybody can answer the bell and go right into the firefight, squeezing. Not everybody can do that. And Cody Garbrandt found that out. Even Aljamain Sterling, you know, his last fight used very good patience. Very good patience. You know, much respect to him understanding what he needs to do. You know, even when he was hit, he still maintained in the pocket. He still did what he had to do to set up his punches, you know, throw those kicks. You know, the one thing I like about mixed martial arts, you'll hear people say, well, he need to work his jab. That's not what you're supposed to do all the time in mixed martial arts. Sometimes you got to throw the kick. You know, when you see the opening, you know, throw a feint and throw a kick behind it, whatever you need to do. You just can't say, okay, this is boxing and you're going to work behind the stick. And then you set that up with a jab, a work behind the jab, and then you set it up with some level change of feints and all that other shit. No, you just got to come up with how you call it? You have to come up with a strategy that is a recipe with a lot of seasonings, so to speak, striking seasonings to add to the gumbo. You know what I'm saying? Like, not every time you're going to be able to set up a kick with punches first. If the kick to the head presents itself, some fighters are very good with landing that kick without punches and, you know, able to get their opponent's attention that way. If you're just throwing punches and you're going to end it with a kick like it's Muay Thai, then your opponent's going to get your rhythm down and they're going to make the necessary changes. If you're throwing a 1-2 kick, then guess what? They're going to wait for that kick to come down, come to them, and they may indeed catch it, go in for a single, or whatever the case. It's just too many game plans out there to even go into it and bore you with that shit. But yeah, pay attention to Aljamain Sterling, Cory Sandhagen, Raphael, Cody Garbrandt. Those two fights right there will be very entertaining for the night. Seriously. This is going to be on PPV. Unfortunately, I wish this was a freaking free card. I'm not going to lie to you. I wish this was a free card because you only have one title fight. You only have one title fight, and that's Amanda Nunes and Felicia Spencer. And really, this is not even at bantamweight. This is at featherweight, y'all. I would have wished this fight was, this fight card had another title fight on it somehow, or a super fight. It would have been good to have somebody like Jones on there, Anthony Rumble Johnson, you know, somebody out of the ordinary, not Francis Ngannou, who just fought. But it would have been good to have him on here against somebody else that was in the heavyweight division that'll make it a competitive fight. Even Dominic Reyes, you know. Who else? I can't say Tyron Woodley. You know, he's just coming off a fight with Gilbert Burns, and he was just totally, it was a lopsided affair. But even then, you know, let's have Gilbert Burns back on here against somebody. Kobe Covington, you know, Jorge Masvidal, something. You know, some big names to kind of pad this card and add some energy to it, really. I'm not saying Neil Magny is not a a top tier name, but a lot of people, they don't gravitate to Neil Magny as much, and Anthony Martin. They're not really feeling that. They just starting to feel Sean O'Malley. Eddie Wineland, with the amount of losses he got, they know he a tough fighter. But a lot of people are going to go into this and say the same thing Sean O'Malley is saying. It's not going to go the distance. That's just the way it is. But it would have been great to see some of those other names on here, man. When we're going to see Valentina Shevchenko back in here? When we're going to see the strawweight division back in here? It would have been good to see Thug Rose. I know Rose Nunes canceled her fight. That was about to go down at the beginning of the pandemic, or a little ways inside the pandemic that Dana White was trying to throw. Since then, it's been several weeks. It would have been good to see Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade back in the cut. Hell yeah. One of my favorite female fighters, man. I like Thug Rose Namajunas, man. But yeah, the stack this card with some other big female names instead of just saying, okay, I'm gonna make the whole entire lineup majority male fights, and then have the headliner with Amanda Nunes, who people know, okay, people know she's a champ, but then you need to complement the card with another name. And that just goes without saying, like, the featherweight division is scarce, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like a clearance rack a little bit. There's not too many big names that's in the featherweight division to really pique the interest of people to tune in for mixed martial arts on this card, the BOD PPV. I can't see the numbers doing that well for this card. If Amanda Nunes would have been facing somebody else in the 35-pound division, cool. But we're stuck with Felicia Spencer. You know, not to discount anything she's capable of doing, but it's just people that are not hardcore fight fans, that they're not going to sit up here and say, "Oh man, I just can't wait to see Felicia Spencer fight." They're not saying that. They're not saying that. Even if it was Holly Holmes, even if it was Miesha Tate that was still in the biz, she was active and wasn't retired. Like anybody would be better to main event, in my opinion. Like, I don't know, man. Amanda Nunes taking nothing away from the Lioness, man. She's a very talented, and she is the GOAT of the UFC, I believe. But I'm just not understanding. I don't know if she's the greatest of all time, the GOAT of mixed martial arts, when you have Chris Cyborg out there, and the only woman to have 4 titles in 4 different organizations, man. Like, she's beast. That's beast mode. That's real talk. And also, I have to mention this also. The fight card is tomorrow, June 6, 2020. PPV, 10 o'clock p.m. The main card start. Prelims begin at 8 o'clock p.m. and the early prelims will commence at 6 o'clock p.m. ESPN Plus. Be sure to tune in if you are all about watching these fights. Like I said before, it may not be a huge card full of notable names that you used to, but if you are a mixed martial arts fan and is looking, just tune in for some combat sports that's now back on the map, do that. Check it out. They got some pretty good fights lined up. Not to mention, the boxing that's finally getting back into the swing of things, man. Next week, they have a card that's popping off on the 9th next week. Top rank. Chris Stevenson stepping back in there against Caraballo. That's going to be good. Let me check one other thing right quick And while I'm on here, I heard the situation that's going on with John Jones potentially vacating the light heavyweight belt, which in my opinion, like, I look at it like this: John Jones vacating the light heavyweight belt, it really doesn't do anything to hurt his career or blemish, because everybody that's gonna want to be the first contender to fight for the vacant title, he's beat already. If indeed it's Thiago Santos and Dominic Reyes, he's beat him already. If it's Anthony Smith who returns and fight Dominic Reyes, he's beat already. And the reason why I keep mentioning Dominic Reyes, because he put on a damn good fight last time he was in there with Jones. Absolutely. And I believe he should be the numero uno, number one contender, if the title is indeed vacated, and then anybody else that wants to fight. I can't take anything away from Thiago Santos too, but I don't think he did enough to win. But in the eyes of a lot of people, they felt that Dominic Reyes did enough to win that fight 3-1. I mean, 3 rounds to 2 when he fought Jones. Now, another disappointment is whatever is going on with Kamaru Usman and his title shot. I really don't know what's going on with that situation. Why Jorge Masvidal potentially may face Nate Diaz for the BMF belt. I just don't understand why. That makes no sense to me, man. We're looking forward to seeing Kamaru Usman defend his belt against a top name. Yeah, he went in there and had his fight with Colby Covington, broke his jaw and all that. We got it. But don't get it twisted. Like, fight fans didn't know which way to go with that fight. And just so happened, Kamaru Usman was able to go in there and get the job done. But we were expecting Jorge Masvidal to step in there. It's his time. He should have got the shot. I wouldn't want to see Nate Diaz step in there, because I believe that Usman would have just made the boring fight, clinched on the cage. And even though he's a black belt, Nate Diaz, I think if he would have touched up Kamaru Usman enough with those punches, I think it would have caused him to resort to his wrestling and lay and pray. You know what I'm saying? And just stall out Nate Diaz a couple of rounds in the fight. Just put away some rounds and then, coast to a win. And that's what I think, because when it comes to boxing between Nate Diaz and Usman, absolutely, I'll say Nate Diaz had the better hands. Wrestling, of course, we've seen Nate Diaz get taken down. So I would expect Usman to use his wrestling if he doesn't see an advantage doing the fight on his feet. He's going to go inside, level change, and take Diaz down and try to land some damage that way. But for Jorge Masvidal, in my opinion, a bit more well-rounded for Usman, even when it comes to wrestling. And I would have liked to see that fight. Now, it was some questions going around against, like Conor McGregor potentially maybe stepping in there for a title fight with Kamaru Usman at 170, which I just thought was lunacy at its finest in neon lights. Because Conor McGregor, man, he goes in here and loses against the top guy, Khabib Nurmagomedov, the lightweight champion. And then he goes in there with some bullshit against Cowboy Cerrone, who said he didn't want to be there 2 days prior. And then they trying to freaking catapult him to a title shot with Kamaru Usman at welterweight. Just coming off a win against Cowboy, that's not enough. You know what I'm saying? No one's really looking back at when you fought Nate Diaz at 170. Even though you did it, no one's really looking at that. When you came back, you lost at lightweight. And then when he moves up in weight, people say, oh, man, that's his weight is much more, his power is going to be much more sustainable at welterweight. He's going to be a problem. Conor is a counter puncher. He does have solid measuring, distance gauging to his punches. Absolutely, he does. I gotta give it up for that. But he's been known to gas during fights. Kamaru Usman has pretty solid gas tank. He's been known to gas. That may play a big factor. If he's not able to land that left hand, what's next? What's next, man? Because Khabib Nurmagomedov sat him down and was able to keep him wherever he chose to watch his own movie. Khabib said, "Watch this movie. I'm about to goddamn play for your ass. I'm about to teach you a motherfucking script that you wasn't planning for. Because you look at all my other fights, and it still wasn't what you was expecting. Now you in the movie, and the cameras are rolling. I'm the main actor." And he just said, "Conor, you're just the extra on this night. You're just the extra guy in the ring. And I'm about to show you how good I really am." He ended up subbing him out. You gotta give a salute to Khabib Nurmagomedov for finishing the job. But for Conor McGregor to potentially get a title shot against Kamaru Usman is absurd. I don't think he deserved it yet. He need to face another top 5. I mean, he needs to face a top 10, a top 5, or whoever it is before he even think about getting one of these freaking popularity fights to bring the fans to the seats. That's not cool. Moving on. I heard Henry Cejudo is thinking about facing Ryan Garcia. I don't know if it's even useful to bring this up on the MMA or mixed martial arts freaking live, because I think it'll do more justice. It won't do it. Look, it won't do justice on either side of the fence. I'm not even gonna lie to you, because a lot of people in MMA don't know who Ryan Garcia is, and a lot of people in boxing doesn't know who Henry Cejudo is. The man is retired now. They can say, "Who is that? Who did he beat? Dominic Cruz. Who is that? Oh, he knocked out TJ Dillashaw. Who is that?" You know what I'm saying? So if I'm over here on the mixed martial arts side of the house, I'm like, he's facing Ryan Garcia. Mixed martial arts fans gonna be like, "Who is that? Who that guy? Who is he? What he do?" So supposedly, Cejudo is talking about facing Ryan Garcia, who has an undefeated record in boxing. They supposed to step in the ring and have a boxing bout. Rumored. Okay. I don't know why that fight is coming to the surface. I have no idea what's the legitimacy of it, what it's supposed to prove. How is it going to be funded? Is it going to happen anytime soon? I cannot see it doing solid numbers. Like, if you're talking about Chuck E. Cheese numbers, get some tickets or some tokens. Yeah, but Henry Cejudo, he built his fame over here in the mixed martial arts arena. Ryan Garcia is still trying to build up outside of his social media following. He's trying to build up his greatness and solidify his superstar status in boxing. He has a ways to go. Y'all hold on for a minute. That's pretty much my take on that whole situation, dealing with the layout of Conor McGregor potentially sliding into a spot to get a title shot against the welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. I don't think he deserves it yet, and he shouldn't even be considered for that. On the other side, I just can't wait for Khabib Nurmagomedov to come back. Why? Because that fight with him and Justin Gaethje is going to be fire. That's going to be a huge PPV event that people are going to tune into the right way. And I hope that they make it like a Thanksgiving feast, because this is a big deal. The Khabib fight against Justin Gaethje, in my opinion, may exceed the numbers of Khabib versus Conor, even though Conor is one of those stars that people tune into because they always believe he's going to come back with something new and he's going to make a chain. He's just going to be this Superman. I think with the performance Justin Gaethje put on with Ferg, and being that people are believing that Justin Gaethje can defeat Khabib with his hands, and he does have wrestling pedigree, y'all. We just haven't seen it tested. I believe that it may do better numbers than Conor McGregor and Khabib. But I just hope the UFC pack it in real nice with all the dressings and trimmings and put the whole main card with none but freaking hitters. You know, I hope the whoever lines those matchups for the main card with 5 fights that people really want to shake their head to and like, damn, this is going to be a tough one. The co-main event going to be tough. The third fight, oh, it's going to be a tough, man. It's going to, yeah, I hope it's like that, man, because it's going to be PPV. It's no way that fight is going to be free on TV. No way in hell. So I can't wait to that, you know, the travel restrictions or whatever else accommodates boxing and mixed martial arts, so we can get to see some of these cards and these matchups we've been waiting on. And that's one of them that the fans are definitely looking forward to is Justin Gaethje and Khabib. It's gonna be a solid fight, man. But I just hope there's some other matchups on there that we can just like it gets you to a point where you want to throw a fight party. You know what I'm saying? It gets you to that point where those of you that was goofy enough to pay that $100 for Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, that type of energy. You know what I'm saying? That has to be it. It can't be any less energy than that, because this is one of the biggest fights. Like even John Jones, you know what I'm saying? Could you imagine even John Jones, even though he's not going to fight no co-main event up on the Khabib and Gaethje, it's not going to happen. But just to say John Jones fighting somebody, like if Adesanya was thinking about moving up to 205 to fight John Jones, I can't really mention Francis Ngannou and John Jones anymore because Dana White has just basically shut that all the way down. That's not going to happen. But the fans would have came out to see it. But, you know, Dana White's like, nope, that ain't going to happen. Now we got to come up with some more creativity for some super fights, you know, to stack on that Justin Gaethje Khabib Nurmagomedov card. That's what we want to see, man. With Henry Cejudo and Ryan Garcia, I'm gonna let that just marinate over there in the I'm gonna let that thaw out, because really no one should be paying that much of attention right now. And also, you've been hearing Manny Pacquiao's name come up. Certain people want to face Manny Pacquiao for mixed martial arts. And I'm saying to myself, if Conor McGregor want to face Manny Pacquiao, I don't see Manny Pacquiao being the type of dude who would carry Conor McGregor to the 7th round if it goes like that. I mean, to the 10th round. Manny Pacquiao, in my opinion, with the Filipino nation behind him, he'll probably try to hurt Conor McGregor early. That's just my opinion. I don't see a lot of people jumping on the Conor McGregor Manny Pacquiao fight the way they did Floyd Mayweather, because Pacquiao just doesn't talk shit. He doesn't really promote a fight. He just give you that smile like he's, he don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but he does. Pacquiao knows everything. He hears everything. You know what I'm saying? So he just sit up there and he don't really sell a fight to the crowd like that. And you saying to yourself, like, he don't have to because he's an 8th division champion. Yes, you do. You still, if you want to get paid accordingly, you still have to sell a fight in a certain way. And I just don't like that. If anybody's trying to do that, I hear so many different names trying to face Pacquiao now. Conor McGregor shouldn't be one of them. He shouldn't be one of them. And I heard a crazy rumor that's out there. It's crazy. Now I'm gonna leave that to my boxing live stream. I'm just I'm kind of done combining mixed martial arts unless it pertains to a fighter from boxing fighting someone in mixed martial arts. That's all I can say to that. But I really don't want to get into straight up boxing matchups and news media of certain boxing rumored lineups unless I'm on a boxing live stream. It's not going to do any justice with a mixed martial arts fan base that may be tuning in. Even though little it is, it's all good because I'm going to keep on talking. But moving on, be on the lookout for the bantamweight division. It has a lot to do with everything, and DC, I hope DC is able to fight Stipe Miocic again for round 3. DC was able to knock him out in 1 round in the first fight. Stipe Miocic was able to come back and stop Cormier by changing up his fight plan and going to the body. So a trilogy is in full effect. Of course, if Dana White doesn't strip him of the title, now that things are basically switched lanes, we went from COVID-19 to goddamn all out mayhem and anarchy across the globe in damn near every regional state, man. That's just wild. So I'm curious to know, like, when are you going to open back up the flight? The airport's the right way. When are you going to start saying, okay, the gathering? Now they're even more scared. It don't have anything to do with COVID-19. You're going to have individuals scared to freaking put on an event because they think it's going to be overran by protesters. That's real life. It was one more fight that I wanted to mention. Who was it? Okay, I wanted to talk about the situation that happened with Tyron Woodley and Gilbert Burns. Okay, Gilbert Burns defeated Tyron Woodley pretty easily, who was the number 1 contender. You rarely see when somebody's number 1 and they get defeated by someone that's number 7, 8. They switch spots like that. But for Gilbert Burns, oh man, they quickly put him up top. Seriously. Look, they put him up top over Jorge Masvidal, who defeated Ben Askren in 5 seconds. Like, no one has been able to top a performance like that lately. How can you take Tyron Woodley number 1 spot? It's not like you was undefeated in the UFC. How can you just automatically rotate and get the number 1 spot to set up a fight potentially with Kamaru Usman? I mean, though the The matchmaking is sending a message to the fight fans. It doesn't give a damn what you want to see. It's all about what's going to make them money. It ain't all about the best fighting the best. Seriously. It's all about sending Gilbert Burns, who is a multi-time BJJ champion, in there against a wrestler like Kamaru Usman, and to give him a challenge. I'm telling you, they're trying to set up a matchup for the downfall of Usman. That's real talk. They put Colby Covington. They put Gilbert Burns in there because he presents a lot of threats for Kamaru Usman. One being his BJJ game and his boxing. You cannot say Gilbert hands didn't look exceptional in there versus Tyron Woodley. Exceptional. How do you think his hands are going to look when he faces Usman? Look, Usman, is he going to go in there and try to level change and put him up against the cage and take down Burns? I know it's not going to happen in the first 2 rounds. You'd be a fool to try to take Burns to the canvas when he's still fresh. You'd be a fool to do that. And according to how much freaking punishment Usman is able to provide or inflict on Burns the first 3 rounds, if it goes that far, to even get him fatigued enough to try and take him down and work inside his guard or whatever. Because there's no way you're going to convince me that Usman's ground game is superior to that of Burns. It's no way in hell. But due to the matchmaking in the UFC, man, they have came up. They say, we're going to goddamn put this shit right away. We're going to try to build up because, people are calling for Gilbert Burns. They kind of like the kid. You know what I'm saying? They think he's entertaining. And to see Kamaru Usman in there, don't too many people even care. You know what I'm saying? They think he's a very boring champion. Even though him and Colby Covington was good to go, a lot of people are just not magnetized to this dude just yet. So they're going to put him in there with Gilbert Burns to see how he fares, see how he contends, how he's able to go in there and compete. He may do very well, potentially. Usman has always came in shape, but we're just waiting on the performance. Like, we're just waiting on that breakout performance for him, man. Even with the Tyron Woodley fight, we got the same Tyron Woodley almost that we just seen in Gilbert Burns. Both of them went to a decision, but who looked more impressive? It depends on what you like. If you like the way he was able to control and put Tyron Woodley on the canvas and, dominate the clinch, you'll say, okay. But then you look at Gilbert Burns on how he was able to use his striking and give the fight fans a little bit more entertainment, opening up a huge cut over Tyron Woodley's left eye. A lot of fans would look at it like, okay, this guy's a problem. He's looking like he's a legitimate rising contender. Let's pay more attention to him. But they moved him up the ladder quick, man. Shit. Look, on the pound for pound list, man, if you ever seen me go over the pound for pound list, man, Tyron Woodley was sitting at like 14. You know what I'm saying? And now that he lost to Gilbert Burns, look, Tyron Woodley was sitting at 14. Now he's totally off the pound for pound list. And I know I'm switching lanes. Keep up. Listen, Tyron Woodley was sitting at 14 on the pound for pound list, right? Not everybody on the pound for pound list was champions. We got that, right? So therefore, Tyron Woodley gets taken off the pound for pound list, and he was right in front of the 15th guy, Francis Ngannou. Now that Woodley has been moved, now they bring in Dominique Reyes on the UFC pound for pound list. This is how it's a little bit crazy, and Woodley being totally taken off the pound for pound list in the top 15. Why? Because Dustin Poirier, he lost the Khabib Nurmagomedov in his lightweight contendership. He lost. He was the interim champion, but he lost. Tony Ferguson, he just lost to Justin Gaethje. Stopped. And they still had him sitting at number 12. How? Ain't that how they say it? How though? How, Sway? Sway, you don't have the answer, Sway. Like Tony Ferguson just lost to Justin Gaethje, yo. I mean, come on, for the interim title. He's still sitting at number 12. How can Woodley be removed? Dustin Poirier lost his lightweight bout with Khabib. Dustin Poirier now. Thinking of number 10, Justin Gaethje, right? He just come off a big win, and he was able to get the stoppage. But Max Holloway was defeated versus Alexander Volkanovski for his featherweight championship. But he still sits in front of Justin Gaethje, who's the interim champion, and Max Holloway isn't the interim champion nowhere. It is nothing. He's just a number one contender. You know what I'm saying? Even though he had the belt, he's in front of Justin Gaethje, who's the interim lightweight champion. Conor McGregor, come on, people. What the fuck? Tyron Woodley is off the pound for pound list. And the reason why I'm pinpointing Tyron Woodley, because I don't understand this pound for pound list when it comes to Conor McGregor, who's just coming off a win of Cowboy Cerrone and a submission loss to Khabib earlier. How can he still be number 8 on the pound for pound list of what he did back in the day? Over 3 years ago, right? Man, how can y'all still have Conor McGregor on this list? It makes it laughable, a lot of what's going on. It's laughable, bro. Dominic Reyes, man, let me keep going up. Alexander Volkanovski is a champion. This way it cleans up. It cleans up a little bit. Volkanovski is the featherweight champion. Okay, I get it. Kamaru Usman, he is the welterweight champion. I get it. Daniel Cormier, once again, vacated the light heavyweight championship, and he lost to Stipe Miocic. He doesn't have any belts. He was stopped. That is the definitive exclamation right there. He was stopped against Stipe Miocic. Why is he sitting at number 5 and he doesn't have number 5 and he has no belt? It's a lot of freaking criteria that's basically bolstered of popularity than actual the last time you had a win and how you performed. And I don't have to go up to question anybody else's above top 5, really. Israel Adesanya, he's the middleweight champion. I got it. Stipe Miocic, the heavyweight champion. I got it. Khabib Nurmagomedov, the lightweight champion. I got it. John Jones, he's the light heavyweight champion. Considered to go. I got it. But if you take number 5 through 15, it kind of questions like, what is the criteria based on? What is the procedure, the format? Who's making these changes? Because it gets a bit raggedy from Conor McGregor, number 8, all the way to number 15. Let's go back to Dominic Reyes, who's just coming off a loss with John Jones. Before Tyron Woodley lost, he wasn't even in the top 15. But now Woodley loses. Dominic Reyes has never had a belt. So he loses to John Jones, and he moves in number 15. But Tyron Woodley defended his title 4 times. A draw against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, rematch he won, Damian Maia, and Darren Till. How can the man not still be on the list when Conor McGregor is floating inside the top 10 and he was subbed? People, Conor McGregor was subbed out. Where's the criteria, man? Who's making the choices? Who's making these choices on the pound for pound list? Francis Ngannou coming off a loss with Stipe Miocic. He comes back and fight Curtis Blades, Alistair, and all them people, and freaking Yardino Rosenstruck, who really just had a name of, on the front end of his glove of being a power puncher. And besides that, I mean, what can you say, people? He wasn't a superstar. How can there be such a huge gap between Francis Ngannou, who is basically right behind Daniel Cormier as the number 2 contender for Stipe Miocic's championship fight title? How can that be the case, man? My main concern here and debate wholeheartedly is why Conor McGregor is inside the top 10. I can see Max Holloway because he just lost his title, and it may potentially be a rematch, and he defended his title, several times. I get it. Plus, he stepped up in a failed attempt against Dustin Poirier for a lightweight champ debut, and he lost. But Alexander Volkanovski just won the title, and he's sitting at number 7. Justin Gaethje, he wins the interim championship. He's at number 10. And the guy he defeated, Tony Ferguson, still sits at number 12. Like, how, bruh? Because he held the interim championship before. Tony Ferguson got stopped. Dustin Poirier got stopped. Both of those individuals were stopped. In their most recent fights, Khabib subbed out Dustin Poirier in 3, and Tony Ferguson was stopped via TKO stoppage. Now, Robert Whittaker, his fight against Israel Adesanya, we all saw what happened to that. That's even a little puzzling, being that it seems like they're giving Robert Whittaker credit for his fights with Yoel. If you're going to give Robert Whittaker credit for defending his title and then losing it in the way he did against Israel Adesanya, well, you should indeed give Tyron Woodley credit too, because guess what? He lost his title to Kamaru Usman, and then he just lost to Gilbert Burns, but he wasn't stopped. He wasn't knocked out, people. Robert Whittaker was stopped. They just don't like Tyron Woodley. What Tyron Woodley say? It's just racist. They racist. Am I not making sense or not, man? Like, come on, man. Like, Robert Whittaker loses his title. He's still at number 13. Tyron Woodley lost his title, and he sat at number 14 behind Whittaker. I know it's different divisions. Whittaker was the middleweight champ, and Woodley was the welterweight champ. I understand that shit. But he was stopped. You feel me? Stopped. Robert Whittaker was stopped. Tony Ferguson stopped. Dustin Poirier stopped. Look, Conor McGregor, who's in front of Max Holloway, stopped. You have to include the magnitude of their most important fight and consider that once you're putting them on the top pound for pound list. That's just the way I feel about it. It's real talk, man. Come on now. Come on, stop playing. Stop playing. Well, that's all I got. For whoever was tuned in, appreciate it. I'm about to bounce. This is just supposed to be about the weigh-ins, but I'll probably be back. Of course, to talk about boxing that's coming up, and talk with you, the fight fans, whenever you see me light up. Share the video and the content. It's all good. What is the Muddy Flats? You see Muddy Flats out there? That's definitely mixed martial arts. Anybody who can dig a little bit deep into their imagination will understand why that name resonates deeply when it comes to mixed martial arts. And also for boxing, it's going to be Catchweight episode 714 on deck. Catchweight is always going to be boxing. Real talk. So y'all continue to hold it down, man. Like I will do the same. Appreciate everyone who support World Combat Sports Media. It's always a pleasure. Turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports. Salute.